Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about the Photoshop interface. I'm just going to give you an overview of the tools and menus in Photoshop. And if your Photoshop interface doesn't look like this, you may be in the new interface, which looks more like this, where it has these icons that you can open up, and then once you click on these or open something, then it will bring you into Photoshop. But most people agree that they don't really like this, and I also agree with that. So if you're in this, you can actually disable it. Well, first you can also toggle back and forth between workspaces. You can go to Essentials. Right now we're on the Start menu. You can see it's checked. We're going to go to Essentials, and this brings us right into Photoshop where all the tools and menus are, so we can just get straight to work. If we need to open an image, we can go to File, Open, or use the keyboard shortcut Control-O. But let me show you how to set it up so this is your default window, so that you're not going into that other one with all the tiles. What you need to do is, if you're on a PC, you're going to go to Edit and Preferences. If you're on a Mac, you'll need to go to the Photoshop icon and then Preferences. Preferences is located in a different spot. But anyway, on a PC, I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to scroll down to Preferences and go to General. The other way to do this is, if I want to just go quicker, I can hit Control K on my PC and it'll take me straight to Preferences. Okay. And on a Mac, that would be Command K. And under General, you're going to see a Show Start Workspace when no documents are open. This is enabled, so I'm just going to click that to disable it. I'm going to click OK. And then in order to make it a permanent change, you have to close out of Photoshop and reopen Photoshop. And when you do, it'll automatically just pop up like this. Okay? So once you're in this window, you're going to see a whole bunch of tools, and that's what we're going to learn about today. Now, it might seem a little overwhelming at first, but we're going to break down the different sections so that you kind of have a name to go with each of the sections of this interface. The first part is the document pane, which is just big open blank space, which is where we will bring in photos and do all of our work. The second part is the toolbar, which is this guy down the left side. This is where some of the most critical tools are that you'll be using. Along the top here, you have two bars actually. The lower one is called the Tool Option bar, and you'll notice that when I'm selected on this Move tool, this option bar is specific to that tool. If I select a different tool, it's going to now be specific to that tool. If I go down here to the Brush tool, it's going to be specific to the Brush tool, and so on. So that's really important to know, because you're going to be using this option bar a fair amount, as well as this toolbar. Up here you have your menu bar, and this provides you with additional functionality, which we won't go into right now, but we will be using these things later in the course. And as you recall, just a few minutes ago, we went to the Window and Workspace, and we could toggle the Start menu on and off to give you an example of the kinds of things you find up there. Okay, then moving over to the right, up here in this corner, these are pretty typical for all windows. You can minimize, restore, or close Photoshop here. You can use a search bar here, and we'll talk about that more later. And then this is your Workspace Presets panel, which we'll also talk about more later. And then over here is your panels. And normally these are going to look like this. Some people in the old days, they used to call these palettes, but now they call them panels. And you can see there are just these different panels. So these are tabs when just set up just like Windows, and you have your color, you have swatches when you click on that, you have Learn, that's where you can do tutorials from Photoshop, libraries, adjustments, this is where you can do adjustments to your images, layers, which is an important one, and so on and so forth. And you can customize these, and I'll show you how to do that in a subsequent lecture. But I encourage you to jump over into Photoshop and just go around and kind of take a close look at some of these things. You can click through some of these toolbars and just kind of get a sense of the changing of the option bar. You can click on a few of these too and see what's in them. For instance, if you go to edit, you'll see like undo, step forward, step backwards, copy. You know, a lot of these are things you'll see in like Microsoft Word or Excel. So it's not going to seem extremely foreign to you. And then you can develop some curiosity about some of these other things, like what is free transform, and just so you're exploring. And then you can go click through some of these palettes, or panels as we call them now, and just kind of get a sense of what's going on there. And then in the next lecture, I'm going to show you how to customize all of this to fit your needs. And oh, by the way, if yours doesn't look exactly like this one, you can go up here, because you might have a different panel set up. You can go over here, click this drop down, and I'm selected on Essentials. That's just basically like the simplified version of the panels, but there are different ones in here, and you can just select on Essentials. And then if you're on Essentials but it still looks different than this, then go down to here and click Reset Essentials, and that's going to put it back to basically like the default settings. And that way yours will look like mine and we can work together. Okay, so go play around with this, just get familiar, and then I'll see you in the next lecture and we'll customize this to make your own personalized workspace.